That's right. The whole goal of today is to create some inspiration for you to submit videos or ideas by June 1st this year. Because it's the first year the festival is launching, there's no precedent set, there's opportunity for everyone to get involved, and we look forward to seeing your submissions by June 1st. The most inspiring person that I've chatted with lately is actually here today as one of our keynote guest speakers. He is an actor, screenwriter, producer-designer, award-winning producer, and now a mentor for all of us. It's my honor to introduce Jordan Morris.
Hello. Yes, my name is Jordan Morris, and I am a filmmaker, and I'm lucky enough to be a filmmaker living in London, Ontario. So I've done all this stuff. Sometimes I write screenplays, sometimes I write for other people, sometimes I just help people write. Producing quite a bit of documentary films lately. In fact, when I leave here today, I'm going to get picked up by my crew, and I'm going to start day one of principal photography in our new documentary. That's starting right here in London, Ontario as well. So it can all happen here. You hear a lot of people say that you've got to go to Toronto or BC or down to LA to make a movie. That's not true anymore. It's very accessible, and we make our own films right here in town. I could have gone to Toronto, but I didn't want to because my family's here. So remember, you can make your own opportunities here if you learn the skills and you stick with it. I came out of theater, so yes, I'm a designer and a fabricator. I learned how to build stuff, props, costume pieces. Basically, I just learned how to be as useful to people as possible, and that gave me a lot of opportunities. So keep that in mind too. The more skills you've got, the more things that you can leverage in your filmmaking, the more valuable you are to a team, and the more they're going to want you. And I've been on screen a little bit as an actor, not very much, rarely. It's not the thing that I do anymore. I used to do it a lot in theater, but it's fun, and occasionally I get on screen as well. A couple years ago, I got to be in a scene with Michael Biehn, who's the guy from The Terminator, The Abyss. He was here in town shooting a kind of a fight movie. I got to play the role of a crumbling ceiling tile with Michael Biehn. So I stood on a ladder over top of this famous movie star and dropped stuff on his head. That was fun. And I got to be a police officer. I had to stand under a rain machine in the cold weather for over an hour, delivering one line over and over and over again, soaking wet to the bone. And then they cut that from the movie. That's show business. That happens too. But my passion is in the writing part of things. So I'm a screenwriting instructor as well, and I run classes outside of any school, just privately, myself, around town several times a year, and I hope to do that around southwestern Ontario as well. So again, the most important part of that I want to share with you is just that I live here in London. I make movies right here in London. It takes me elsewhere. In fact, on this new movie that I'm starting, I'm going to Santa Monica, I'm going out to BC, I'm going to Montreal, and all over Ontario to interview people, because our documentary, I can't say exactly what it's on, but it's on the most significant Canadian television show in history. And I'm going to leave you to try to figure out what that is. So the categories that we're going to talk about today, we're just going to talk about the different categories and a couple really simple tips on how to make your film better. Anybody that's worried about the equipment that they do or don't have and how to use it and all that stuff, I'm going to try to diffuse any concerns you've got about that. It's not important, not right now. So we're going to talk about animation, narrative, documenting, creative arts, pitching, which is super fun. I hope that we get a bunch of people out to pitch. I do that myself. When I go to Santa Monica, I'm going to pitch just for fun. I don't really have a movie that I want to make, but I want to try a couple ideas out on big execs down there, and we'll see what happens. So why? Why do you want to make a movie? Well, I like making movies because they're fun. I get to hang out with my friends and make them. I get to meet famous people like Michael Biehn, like the people that made this most significant television show in Canadian history. That's going to be a big deal for me. But for you, let's talk very quickly about a couple things that you'll get to enjoy if you make one. Films can have a massive cultural impact. A lot of the time when we go to the movie, we just go for a good time. We go for a laugh. We go to get scared. Maybe if we see a documentary, we want to learn about a particular subject. But movies are also powerful influencers in our lives. They teach us about ourselves, the culture that we live in, other cultures around the world, and that can help inform who we are and how we live our lives. Today, movies really have kind of replaced what mythology used to do for mankind. Way back in the day, starting with even before the mythological stories, cave drawings, people used to tell stories. legends, like hero quest type stories. And the other members of the tribe, so to speak, would learn about what it means to be a human being and how to live from these stories. Movies have kind of replaced that now. We can watch, we can observe, we can learn about, we can comment on, and we can debate every aspect of our lives through films. They're very, very powerful. Some movies get watched over and over and over again. Consider that people are still out there watching the movies of Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, silent movies from the 20s and 30s, because they still have a lot of impact. They still have lots of stuff to say, and we can still learn from them. So if you make a really effective film, it can last. It can outlive all of us. Many of those films have got lots of important stuff to say. It can have a really personal impact on you. Making a film will give you an opportunity to say something about your life specifically and the world that you live in, whether it's just the home you live in, the neighborhood you live in, the city you live in, the country you live in, or the world that you live in from your point of view. All of that is really, really important. Making a film is going to give you a chance to be heard and to share your specific feelings with the world. Not everybody gets that chance. What's most important is that a lot of young people say they don't get heard. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world right now, and it's all under the control of the adults of the world. And I'm sure that you've got something to say about that. Again, maybe you've got something you want to say about the life that you live or the lives that you observe. Maybe you want to comment on the crazy stuff that all the adults in the world are doing right now. We want to hear that, and that could stick. That could change people. It doesn't matter that you're not a film expert or you've never made a movie before. Every filmmaker in the world started by making their first film. A lot of us never had any formal training. I didn't go to school for film. I didn't know a thing about it, but I wanted to learn, and I made a nice transition from theater into movies, and then I just found a tribe of my own, people that I trust, that I like, and I've started to learn as much as I can about specifically filmmaking. So you can go to school for film. That's important. That works for a lot of people. But even if you can't afford to do that, you can still make movies. You can have a real professional impact on you. There are a ton of skills inherent to filmmaking that you don't even think about. We're going to talk about the global competencies, that you see those posters up in your schools all the time. I heard some groans when I showed that slide as we were setting up in here. It's like, oh. But the bottom line is the school board is paying for all of this because they recognize how many different skills you've got to leverage to make a movie, to work with other people, to find your voice, and to create a film. It's super important, and everybody's excited about what you can do with this opportunity. So, there they all are. We're just going to fly through this, and I'm going to try to just give you some idea of how this is all really important. Critical thinking. When they first showed me the list of global competencies, when I first talked to Miss Laura about it, she said, maybe you can mention some of this stuff. It's important. I was like, sure, what is it? And I started to read them all, and I had to laugh to myself because they're not just kind of important. They're all critical, and you're going to use all of them when you make a film. Critical thinking and problem solving. Things go wrong on a movie set all the time. All the time. I was on the phone until late last night with my producer, my co-director. Things are falling down, and we're having to put them back up, scheduling problems. This person said they could talk to us on this date, but then they had to go in for emergency dental surgery. That's ruined our schedule. Now we got to move it all around here. How are we going to get from BC to Montreal on the same day? This is crazy. Stuff goes wrong all the time. The camera doesn't work. We lost the shot we just took. The light's disappearing. This prop doesn't work. What are we going to do? You're going to fix it. You're going to figure out how to do that. Innovation. How can we do this? How do I get this shot? It's supposed to be underwater, but I can't get in a tank. I've got to make it look like it's underwater. Am I going to use puppets? This puppet's not working right. What can I do? It doesn't look right. It doesn't emote the way I want it to. You're going to figure all that out. You're going to innovate. You're going to push yourself to do it. You're going to learn how to learn. Like myself, I did not go to school for filmmaking. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. That's not a big deal. Not learning from them is the big deal. Every mistake that you make is going to tell you something, and you're going to learn from it. So you're kind of training your brain to learn from your own mistakes. And you're making a movie, you can take that take again. You can do that shot over again. You can ask your actors to go through it again. It's not a big deal for things not to work the first time. It's a big deal to give up and not to keep going. And clearly, you're going to collaborate. It's very difficult to make a movie on your own. You might be able to put together one of the art films, the moving arts type of movies on your own as one person, but you're not going to be able to make any other kind of movie by yourself. And it's always better when you collaborate. It's not important who comes up with the best idea. It's just important to have people that trust each other so that you can try stuff out and you can suggest things. And under those circumstances, the best idea will come to the surface and you'll use it. And the movie will get better for it. Obviously, you've got to communicate. A director, which in the next event happening here, is going to talk about how you put a scene together and how you work with actors. A director has to communicate effectively with their cast. The cast has to be able to ask effective questions. Why am I doing this? What's my character up to? The cliche is, what's my motivation? Right? You have to be able to communicate. And here's what we're talking about, contributing to society. If, for instance, you make a documentary film about something that's important to you, you may change the opinion of other people that get to see it. You may get those people involved in whatever cause it is that you want to talk about. It can have a big impact, again, locally or even globally. That's up to you. So all that stuff is super important. And again, that's why the board and your teachers are really excited to have you here. We're excited to have you here. And we want to know what you've got to say. Because filmmaking is going to affect you. It's going to change you. If anybody's been in maybe a theater show, where you put on a show and you hear the applause of the crowd, or you do something scary and you hear them wince, or you hear them laugh, that's very powerful when you can affect people like that, when you can make them feel something. Making a film is an experience that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. So I hope you take it seriously. Not the pressure. Don't feel pressure to do it. Feel some excitement to get in on it and create something that will last for a long time. 20 years from now, when you look back on your first movie, you're probably going to roll your eyes and go, oh man, that is rough. My first movie is, I can't watch it. It's terrible. But it's a great starting point. And it's exciting to think about where we started and where we are now. And I'm excited for you to go through that process too. So, let's talk a little bit about the how. Isn't making a movie really hard? Like, isn't it going to be frustrating? Well, yeah. Making a movie is hard. But so what? As they say, most things in life that take some effort are worth it. So, it is difficult, it's certainly challenging, but right now it's easier than it has ever been in history because the technology is becoming so much more accessible. And in fact, you probably have the answer to some of your concerns right in the palm of your hand. It could be your smartphone that you shoot this thing on. But the equipment isn't important. Don't get hung up on that. The equipment is not what's important. The story, your idea, the kind of statement that you want to make about something, something that you care about, something in your life or in a life that you observe, that's what's important. Affect me, the audience. Don't be intimidated by your equipment or the lack of it. It's nonsense. There's a lot of help too. A lot of people are uncomfortable with asking for help, and you're going to get really good at that when you make films because you're going to need tons of help. That's part of it as well. Don't think that asking for help is a weakness. It's not. It's an incredible strength to say, I haven't got a handle on this. I need help with it. Who can help me tackle this problem? So again, if you don't own a camera, not a big deal. Use your cell phone. If you don't have one of those, then check in with your class. See what equipment is available. Or someone that you know probably owns a smartphone. I completely understand that you might not have any equipment, but that's what the Pitch Fest is for too, if you can't actually make a movie. And we'll talk about that in a bit. So I was a judge recently up at the Western, judging an entire film festival of movies that were made only on smartphones. And Dorothy was there too. Some of them were really impressive. Some were shot and edited entirely on a cell phone without a computer. You can do that. No worries. You don't own any lights? Well, there's probably maybe a shop light sitting around in your dad's garage or somebody that you know. You've got flashlights, car headlights. It doesn't matter what it is. Get creative. What?
Maybe use a highway flare.
Well, that's kind of dangerous. But I like what you're thinking. You're already trying to think of solutions, which is great. He said a highway flare. You might want to limit your exposure to a working highway flare. We don't want you setting any fires making your movie. It's a good story, though, after the fact. I've done it. You've got to get creative, is what I'm saying. Don't assume that you don't have something that's going to work. Or maybe you just decide to make a movie that doesn't need the kind of lighting that a regular film would. At the beginning of all of our early projects, we used to have kind of a team huddle, and it was a meeting that I called what do we got meeting? What do we got to work with? Well, we got this one camera, we got a cell phone, we got these lights. I know a couple of actors. I've got a cool car I can put in the movie. It's got some highway flares. This guy's gonna make a comedy, I can tell already. Whatever, you can turn those into puppets. It doesn't matter. Whatever equipment you have around can work for you. But on the subject of lighting, there's just one thing that we saw frustrated a lot of people on the smartphone festival, and that's backlighting. If you've never made a movie before, you probably don't know about it. That means that the light source is behind me and the camera is in front of me, so it makes my face dark and everything around me light. A regular film camera can handle that super big contrast between bright light and shadows, but a cell phone can't. So just be careful about that. Try it out a couple times. And turn it around so that your actors are facing the light like I am right now. So the camera would be out there pointed at me and the light's also pointing at me in a similar direction. Just make sure we can see the face of your actors is what I'm saying, or whatever the subject is. Avoid backlighting. Sound is super tricky. Sound can frustrate more than pictures. In this day and age, we've all gotten used to YouTube, right? A lot of the videos that are on YouTube are kind of grainy. Sometimes they're a little shaky. We can all handle that now. We're used to it. That's not a big deal. But if the sound is bad, we can't understand what people are saying, that's frustrating. So, depending on the school or the resources that you have available, you may use what's called a boom mic. That's the one in the picture right there. They call it a boom mic because when you hit somebody in the head with it, it goes boom. That's not true. The boom is the stick that he's holding onto. I'm wearing a lav mic right now. It's short for lavalier mic. Sometimes there's little devices with split mics on it called a zoom. Looks like a phaser from Star Trek. Chances are you're not going to have any of that equipment available to you. If you do, great, cool. Experiment with it. That's the way they put the big movies together, with stuff like that. But if you don't and you're working with just your cell phone, then just make sure that when you're shooting, you're close enough to your subject that we can hear them. Just get close. The sound is really important. Or make the choice to make a silent movie. Again, we're still watching Chaplin and Keaton. And if you've never seen a Charlie Chaplin movie, watch them. They're incredibly hard. They're incredibly hard to reproduce. People today couldn't do what they were doing back then. Some of the stunts they did back then are incredibly dangerous, but it looked effortless on screen. So you can shoot an entire movie, not rely on dialogue at all, and then lay some nice music on top, you're set. There are ways around everything, but don't think that just because you don't have a good recording device that you can't make a film. Not true. So sound, there we go. If you're going to use music in your movie, just make sure it's not popular music. That's fun to play with. I wish you could do that. Obviously, popular music will get the crowd kind of on their feet, especially if it's people that love that kind of music. Well, not the government, but the people that own the copyright, yes, right? If you don't own the rights to the music, then you can't use it. We can't accept it in the festival, so I'm afraid we can't let you do that.
Would it be easier to compose your own?
Hey, I love it. Yes, I don't know about easier, but certainly you can do that. Some people don't have that option available. They wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't know where to start in making their own music. But if you can do that, that's impressive. Do it. Use whatever skills you've got. Or go online and look for royalty-free music. There's all kinds of websites out there like Music Bed, Music Garden. You can get SoundCloud, thank you. Yeah, you can get free music out there in all kinds of genres. Whatever you're looking for, there's examples out there. Inspiration. All we're asking is that you don't make something again that already exists. If you love a TV show, if you love a movie, don't make a movie of that movie. Don't try to reproduce those scenes and those actors and those characters again. That's not what we're looking for from you. You can use that kind of thing as inspiration though, right? A book, comic book, a piece of music. You can work with the lyrics from a piece of music that you love and make a story out of that. That's cool. Reinterpret something that exists already, but don't just copy it. Like, take something out there and create a parody or a new take on it and a new spin on it, like Riverdale. Is everybody aware of where that came from? It came from that. How crazy is that? So this is an old-timey comic book, because Archie's been around for a very long time. But imagine taking a meeting and saying, I'm going to take this comic book, and I'm going to make kind of a sexy, young adult soap opera out of it. What do you think?
Oh, hell no.
I'm sure that many people said that. It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would work, but it worked really effectively. So just make it like original in some way. Don't just copycat whatever's out there. It's a fun thing to do if you want practice, to try to reproduce movies or TV shows that exist, but don't enter something like that. Make it unique. Make it yours. Okay, so the categories that we get to play in. There is literally a category for everyone. Play to your strengths. As we go through these, something's going to click in your mind, and run after that. And if you can't literally make a movie because you haven't got time, haven't got access, whatever, then we're going to talk about the Pitch Fest, which is maybe for you. The first category, animation. A collection of pictures that are photographed frame by frame and then played in quick succession to make them look like they're moving. Everybody kind of gets that concept, I'm sure. And there's several different styles. Traditional hand-drawn stuff like the old-timey Disney movies. Pixar's are all computer-generated, so maybe some classes that are doing computer work might be able to play around with some computer animation. And then there's stop motion, so claymation. Some people make stop motion out of Lego figures. You may have seen those on YouTube. Super fun. Action figures, dolls, whatever it is. Anything that you can basically make still frames of and then stitch all together to make it look like they're moving. So these are the big ones, recent ones. My personal favorite is Isle of Dogs in the lower right. But you've got Incredibles, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Grinch, Early Man, Littlefoot. But of course, these movies cost anywhere from $50 to $70 million to make. I'm guessing you don't have that kind of money. So don't be intimidated by that. Animated films can be really simple, really short, like this one. Let's see if I can get it to roll here.
A little egg lay on a leaf. Out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. He started to look for some food. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks. He was a beautiful butterfly.
Hey, Ben. The sound is super lagged. We missed the fun part at the end. Well, thanks, but I didn't make that movie, so. But somebody did. And in the end there, he turns into a butterfly, and then a salamander comes by and eats him. It's a nice ironic twist at the end. Good for a chuckle. So clearly, that's not $50 million there. That may have cost $10 to make. Claymation is choppy, the sound is choppy, the music's a little choppy, doesn't matter. It's a good effort. It's a good, solid animated film, and it would have been really hard to make. So it's easy to sit here and laugh at that thing, seeing all the flaws in it, But if you've made it, it's going to be a huge source of pride for you. Don't bother listening to everybody say, oh, I can see all the mistakes and whatever. Even the big movies have got mistakes all through them. But that was a nice short film, easily within reach of anybody here in this room. All right, the next category. When I watch, roll the next one, check it out, because the sound is like 30 seconds behind the picture for some reason. Okay, so we're talking about narrative films now. Narrative is another massive category. So it's a film that tells a fictional or fictionalized story, event, or narrative. In this type of film, believe narratives and characters help convince the audience that the unfolding action is real. So yeah, when you go to the movies, it's kind of like looking through a window at another life. It's sort of like Black Panther or whatever, Captain Marvel are real, and you just happen to observe it from a distance. That is a terrible movie. So there's all kinds of different genres within narrative. Right? Comedy, horror, drama, musical, action, mystery, thriller. A musical. Who wants to do a musical? I would love to see that. Yeah? Let's do it. Let's see this. And you can choose any kind of performer. So if you're out there thinking, I don't know any actors, maybe you're going to make a movie using puppets. Maybe you're going to make a movie using your household pets. I've seen that before too. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. Use what you've got. As you can see, like narrative films come in all shapes and sizes as well. There's tons of different options out there. Every one of them's got a different tone. Everyone's got a different kind of feel to it. Everyone's got a different point, different message. You can make whatever kind of movie in this category that you want. So we're next going to look at another short film, another example, another one made by students, this time over in England. Very simple, but it's got a really nice concept. And this one's not happy or funny. This one's kind of somber, makes us reflect on life a little bit. Let's see if we can get this one to roll. Yikes. Any advice? Well, it doesn't have to be embedded. I'm just terrible at navigating on a PC. Sorry, gang, I really want you to see these things, to see what other people have done. This actually is not my laptop. What was that? Okay. Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. All right. Let's see if we can get it to work this way.
For the best of Rome.
You remember when I was talking about how things always go wrong?
Also problem solving.
Problem solving. Okay, one more try.
Weakest of your skin. the footsteps at hand follow. You know the pill is too big to swallow.
So yes, that one is a sad film. Good grief. Okay. So we had something to say about a man at the twilight years of his life, reflecting on his life, thinking about the memories of his life, losing those memories, and then finally fading away as he passes. So you can affect people like that. And people can appreciate their own lives by seeing someone else make a statement like that. Let's appreciate what we've got, and let's not forget about our lives. Let's not forget about the people in it. It's heartfelt. All that's really important is that you can make people feel something. The next category we want to talk about is particularly effective at that because it often is dealing with issues that the filmmakers feel are really important. They want to actually share with people. So documentary is a factual motion picture intended to document some aspect of reality, primarily for the purposes of education or maintaining a historical record. And again, you can choose any subject that you want. It can be your neighbor. You can make a documentary on your dog. Or you can make a documentary on your school. Again, any part of our nation, the world around us, politics, whatever is frustrating you, anything. You explore that subject, you educate the audience and share your feelings on the subject, and then occasionally, there'll be a call to action at the end of it, encouraging people to get involved somehow. That's a very common strategy with documentaries. So this is our wheelhouse. This is where I make most of my films now. Here's some of the more popular ones in recent years. There's some really good stuff in there. I couldn't believe how effective this one here was about the man who actually climbed between the two towers long before they got knocked down. He illegally snuck up onto the roof of the Twin Towers in New York City and tightrope walked across them. It's a very cool story, and they have an amazing amount of footage from way back when he was planning it. Yeah, it can be about anybody, about anything. And we can relate with any of these stories because we're a part of this world. So here's a little tiny one. Let's see if I can find it online as well, that I had a hand in making. And it was made specifically for someone that was in a lot of trouble and needed help. Thank you for hanging in. Here we go. Not so hard after all.
In the space of like a month and a half, I went from stomach problems to basically dying.
The day he was admitted, social services came and said, your insurance isn't going to pay for anything. They're denying to pay for his hospitalization, to pay for his dialysis, to pay for anything. They're not going to pay for anything. I absolutely refuse to let my husband die because we don't have enough money.
He's not able to work right now because his life requires him to be at the doctor's office receiving treatment several days a week.
We can barely eat. I have to get rid of my car. And now I can't pay my house payment, so I need help.
We do have a good community and we have good support. We have a lot of people that have helped us out, but we also live in a community that doesn't have a lot of money.
You have months and months and months of bills that you haven't paid that you're trying to get caught up with, and he no longer has a job to pay those bills.
There could be someone right now ready to donate, and he's not available to receive it because of the money.
James is one of my best friends from childhood. I want to do as much as I can to help his cause and get him the care that he needs.
We just don't know what we would do without him.
Our hands are tied. We're just slowly watching our son die.
He's an amazing guy. He's my best friend. And I don't want to lose him to this.
If I don't get this money that I'm asking for, and I desperately do need, then I'm gonna die.
Now a four-legged Facebook friend is stepping in. French Bulldog Archie Brindleton is a social media celebrity in Canada, garnering thousands of fans who just love all of his encouraging posts and pictures. Rice reached out to Archie's Facebook page, asking them to share his GoFundMe site, so they packed their bags and hit the road for Archie's first trip to the U.S., offering a different kind of support from this therapy dog.
When he first told me that Archie was coming, I did not believe him.
How could somebody that doesn't know us travel from Canada all the way to southern West Virginia to help? But they are good people in this world.
I was raised to believe that you help people when you can, but you don't expect that kind of thing in return.
You sure did drive an awful long way just to see me.
Thanks to Archie, I'm pretty sure that we'll get the help he needs.
Archie brings out the good in me. It makes me feel good that so many people have rallied behind me. Everybody that you met along the way that gave a little bit of money, they've done a great thing for me. They've helped a little bit to save my life.
I'd like to be able to thank everybody personally that has done what they've done so far.
It means hope. If we can get the support and I can get the transplant, these people have saved my life.
For him to be able to get his kidney and us just to be able to keep our house and live, that would mean everything to me. Just knowing that he was well and that we could grow old together. That's all I want.
Hi everybody, I'm Archie's pop. Archie's mom and I created this video to help everyone understand the situation that is threatening James Rice's life. But now we need your help. Please donate anything you can to James's GoFundMe page and share this video with everyone possible. Together, we can save a man's life and help a family in desperate need. Because that's the kind of world that we want to live in, isn't it?
So, that man lives in southern West Virginia, a long ways away, went into the hospital with stomach pain. 2 days later, he got hit with a bill for $20,000, lost his job, couldn't afford his car any longer, and basically was dying when nobody could help him. So, that's my dog. Archie's my dog. So we decided we'd help him out. And my wife is also a filmmaker, so we drove all the way down to West Virginia. We told all of Archie's fans, because he has a bit of a following online, where we were going to be at any given time, and they would meet us at dog parks all the way down to West Virginia and give us money. We gave that money to that man, and then we gave him the film afterwards to put on his GoFundMe page, and it raised $20,000. So not only did we save his life, but we gave him an opportunity to carry on with his life, and now they've just enjoyed a new baby, a baby boy. So not only is James still alive, but he's actually expanded his family, and we had a small hand in doing that because we made a movie that he shared with as many people as he could and got people behind him. And you have that kind of power too. You can change the world too. Hello. Correct. That was me. He's not here today, I'm afraid. He's got a very busy schedule. He's way more famous than I am. But consider what you can do with maybe a documentary film to draw attention to a cause out there that other people don't know of. You can make things happen. So category 4 is what's being called creative arts films. There's even fewer rules in this kind of category. So creative arts, sometimes referred to as an abstract film or an experimental film. You can get really, really innovative here, really, really experimental. So this idea, instead of telling a story, you're creating an experience. Pictures, sound, music, whatever you want to throw up on the screen, whatever you can do to make people, again, feel something, but in a more abstract kind of a way. This kind of film is a surreal visual or sound experience with no story, no acting. They rely on the unique qualities of motion, rhythm, light, and composition to create emotional experiences. So you can still make people feel with this type of thing. Let's see if I can find this one online. The next example. Yeah, there we go. So again, they can be very abstract. They can be really experimental. You can put whatever you want in it. But I hope you can see even just a glimpse of the idea that even though it's really kind of unusual in that there's no story, no actors, nobody delivering any dialogue, you can still make people feel something. I kind of like that one because it has a hint of a story to it. We get introduced to the light at the beginning, and then when the light kind of disappears at the end slowly, so it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But otherwise, it's kind of interpretive, and it's up to us. So any art students in here could maybe embrace this and run with this particular category. Visual arts and the film group or whatever can work together on it. But have fun and know that there's simply no boundaries. It can be whatever you want it to be. And the final category, for those who don't want to or can't for any reason make an actual film, is pitching. This is kind of an unusual thing that happens in the film industry. For anybody that wants to sell their movie idea or sell their screenplay, they will often take meetings, pitch meetings, and try to sell somebody on the concept. And a pitch meeting is typically pretty short. So it's a shortened version of the word sales pitch. A concise verbal presentation of an idea for a film or TV series in the hope of selling the screenplay based on the idea or being offered work to write a screenplay. So like when I go down to Santa Monica, I'm going to take meetings with people and I'm going to sit down and say, okay, here's my idea. Blah, 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 blah. What do you think? And they'll say, I hate it. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Or they'll say, send me the screenplay. Or they'll say, let's get this thing greenlit, let's make this movie right now. That doesn't happen very often, though. So the idea is that you're proving two different things when you make a pitch. You're proving that your idea has artistic merits. It's unique, it's new, it's fresh. We haven't seen this kind of thing before. It's got something to say. And you're also proving the commercial merits. Because movies are expensive. So if you're making a big feature that's going to be in theaters, then you're spending, I don't know, the average is around 30 million now, at least 30 to 50, somewhere in there. Nobody's going to spend $30 to $50 million making a movie that other people do not want to see. You don't build something and try to sell something that nobody wants to buy. So you've got to prove that there's a big market for it. That's not such a big deal for our pitch fest here. We're more interested in your ability to pitch a really cool idea. So the idea is that you're going to create a 1 to 2 minute video, and it's either you on a cell phone, you in front of a laptop, whatever. And if you don't have access to any kind of equipment, then talk to your teacher, and we'll make sure that you can get filmed. And the video is going to be 1 or 2 minutes long, you right at the camera, pitching, just like I did. Here's my idea. It's a horror movie. It's about a dog. Da-da-da-da. It's called Cujo. This happens. What was that? I did mean Cujo. That's what I just said. Stephen King fan. Anyway, it has to be an original idea, obviously, not like Cujo, which is a Stephen King novel and movie. And you don't tell the whole story. Most people assume that when you make a pitch, you get up in front of an audience or a group of people that may be interested in your idea, and you tell the story. It's like, okay, scene 1, we open up in the sky. The camera pans down. Clouds, clouds. No, that's not what you do at all. We don't want to do that. We don't want to hear the whole story. We want to hear the important stuff, which is, what's the genre this thing is? Movie makers want to know what kind of genre you're making. Is it a comedy? Is it a horror movie? Is it an action movie? Is it a thriller? Is it a mystery? You start with that kind of information. So everything that you say after that kind of informs how they see it in their mind. You got to identify your hero or your lead character or characters, and we have to get an idea of what they do, what their life is like. Luke Skywalker is a simple farm boy, stuck in a job that he hates. He's uninspired. He wants to adventure up in space, but he's got to help his uncle, right? That's how we'd introduce that character. Then we have to identify the villain or whatever the obstacle is for that character. Darth Vader, the Empire, whatever, bad guys. We have to identify the stakes. If Luke doesn't help save the princess and stop the Empire, they're going to keep blowing up planets and they're going to take over the universe. And then you hint at the climax where everybody's racing towards the Death Star and the Death Star is trying to blow up another planet. Are they going to do it in time? Are the good guys going to win? Are the bad guys going to win? Da, 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 da. But we don't give away the ending, we just hint at it. Well, you don't give away the whole plot because that's not how a pitch works. You want to create curiosity. You don't want to explain everything. You want to hook them and hope that they then start asking you questions. That's the idea. So I was able to find, we'll see if I can find them online. There's a big film festival called Tribeca down in the States, and they've got a couple samples of very fast pitches. So if I can find them for you, you can see how they work. Yeah, here's one.
Hi, my name is Jack Schaefer, and this is my movie pitch. Timer is a romantic comedy with a sci-fi twist. It's about a device that is implanted in your wrist that gives you a countdown to the moment that you meet your soulmate. But the catch is that in order for you to have a countdown, your soulmate, whoever and wherever he is, he also has to have a timer implanted as well. So our heroine, her name is Una, she has the rare dilemma of a blank timer, which means that her soulmate hasn't had a timer implanted. So she goes around dating timerless guys with the hope that they'll get their timer implanted and that'll be her soulmate, and she's disappointed time and time again. Until one day she falls in love, well, not one day, but she meets a man who she falls in love with, and his timer is set to meet his soulmate in 4 months. So it's like, live for the moment, follow the timer, what to do? Something that's hard with pitching is you need to be really enthusiastic and be animated and believe in it, and they're not obligated to give that back to you.
So that's one example. They're very short. Again, you're not telling the whole story, you're just sharing the setup. If I can find... Bear with me. There, this guy.
I pitched the film many times. I pitched the film many times to many people. Is love a myth? Duncan Anderson seems to think so. His last 5 relationships have been a disaster. Was he too honest? Was he too flexible? Did he find relationships too suffocating? Or maybe he never even stood a chance in the first place. Now he's going to use statistical analysis, talking elephants, animation, anything he can think of to find out what went wrong with his last 5 girlfriends. This film is a must-see for an audience because we've all had relationships that have gone wrong. This film may not give you the answers, but it'll certainly give you hope. Don't try and tell the whole story. Just give a sense of your command of the central idea and your enthusiasm and desire to tell that story.
And that's the idea. Sometimes they call it an elevator pitch because the idea is that you step on an elevator and find out that you're standing next to Steven Spielberg and you've got 20 floors to pitch him on your movie idea. You've got that much time, short period of time, so you got to be concise. You got to get right to the point. It's this kind of movie, this is the basic setup, this is what kind of happens, and this is a hint at where it's going to go. Can I send you the screenplay? Can we make this movie together, whatever it happens to be? So, the quality of the video is not important. We do not care how grainy it is. We don't care if you shoot it on a cell phone or a movie camera. It doesn't matter. All right? Quality of the video itself, irrelevant. The quality of your performance as the pitcher doesn't matter either. You can be nervous, you can stutter. That's not what it's about. We want to hear how you compose your pitch, how effective you are at making us visualize it in our mind, how excited you are for it, how you get your message across. That's all that's important, and anybody in this room can do it. Keep in mind, now that we've covered all the categories, there are even fewer limitations than maybe you thought. You can enter more than once. You can enter more than one film. You can enter more than one category. You can enter a movie as part as a group in one category and as a single individual filmmaker in another. It doesn't matter. You can enter 100 times if you want. Do whatever you want to do. This is your vehicle to communicate your ideas, show us who you are as an individual or as a team. Every class, every skill, every life experience, everybody in this room has something different to say and can make an effective film. So don't miss out on that opportunity, okay? Your one job, your only job for any film and every filmmaker is the same. Elicit an emotional response from your audience. That's all you've got to do. If you make them laugh, you won. If you make them cry or feel sad, you won. Sure, scare them. That's great. I would love to see a short horror movie. I had an example, but it was pretty creepy, so I didn't want to share that one. Yeah. Make it. Make that movie then. Okay. So that's kind of a guided tour of the festival, the categories, some ideas to help you break down any anxiety that you've got about making a movie. Has anybody in here got any questions for me right now? After we're done in here, by the way, I'm going to move out to the lounge area just outside the door at the top, and I'm going to hang out there during your lunch period. So if you come up with a question then, come up to me and ask. If you don't want to do it in front of the crowd here, no big deal. This is a great idea. So if you've got a great pitch.
Yeah, repeat the question, or if it's too quiet, I've got a mic, okay?
Sure. So the question was, if somebody's really nervous and doesn't want to get in front of a camera, even for the pitch, can they get someone else to do it for them? Can they write the pitch and then have someone who's comfortable with acting in front of a camera actually make the pitch for them? Of course, yeah. You can do anything in a team. Find a solution for whatever your problem is. I challenge you to do it, because I think you'll find that it's not that big a deal, and you'll get over that fear in a pretty big hurry. But if you don't want to do it, then get somebody else to do it with you. Yes? No, we're going to assume that nobody's got any money, which is a great challenge. Now how are we going to make a movie? So you got that what do we got moment. You're at a class at school. Maybe there's an AV club. Maybe there's other people in the arts departments. Maybe there's people in the acting stuff that you can kind of just send a message out there, ask your teachers for help, and maybe they'll help you put together a team. Somebody may want to write it, but doesn't want to have anything else to do with it, right? Somebody may want to act, but doesn't have an idea. So get your school involved, and they may help assemble a team for you, okay? Just ask for help. Anybody else? Way up there, yes.
Hello.
Hello.
How and when will these films be presented?
Well, you're going to load them onto the Forest City Film Festival website, and Dorothy, holding the mic, may even be able to describe the process better than I.
Yeah, actually, it's a really cool website that everybody should actually know about. It's called Film Freeway. And when you go on the Youth Film Festival site, so the Forest City Film Festival, that's forestcityfilmfest.ca, and go to the tab that says Submit Your Film or Youth Film Festival. It'll take you both. You'll get to the same place. It sends you to Film Freeway, and you upload your film. You fill in and any filmmaker needs to know about Film Freeway, because there's only 2 ways to get into film festivals around the world, and those are the main 2 ways.
So this is what the website looks like. And you can see right here, there's a whole category for the Youth Film Festival. Just click on that and you can walk right through it. It'll tell you how to load everything up. And if you've got questions, ask.
Sorry, I think we misunderstood the question. When will the films be shared? Was that okay? So the answer to that is that all of the films will be gathered. June 1st is the deadline, so everybody has to have their films in by June 1st at the very latest. There's no late deadline. It's just June 1st. So submit early. You can submit anytime. Then on October 23rd next year, the top 5 from every category will be screened. Okay, so the top 5 from every category will be screened right here in front of a full audience, and I'm no doubt it'll be a very full house.
What about the pitches?
And the pitches will be done at the same time. So the top 5 pitches, the top 5 of each of those categories will be screened here then.
Are we showing the video of the pitches, or are the people going to pitch in front of an audience?
At this point, we're showing the videos of the pitches.
There you go. We get that question a lot too. Okay, next.
There's a question right here.
Okay.
So what's the most important thing you gotta do when you promote a film?
In what respect? When you say promote? To sell it, take it on the road, that kind of thing?
Yeah, like something like that, almost.
Well, for a new filmmaker, festivals are very important. Festivals like the Forest City Film Festival that we're talking about are your best opportunity to get your movie out there and to get an audience in front of it. There's no point in making a movie if nobody can see it. So enter festivals. We've also rented theaters locally and played our movies there and invited everybody that we could to come see it just to get the ball rolling. And then there's a whole nother dimension where you've got to actually get involved in distribution, maybe an agent, all that kind of stuff. At this point, there's no point in going down that road right now. It takes a lot of work. But the first and easiest thing you can do to get exposure for your films is to enter as many film festivals as you can.
Right here?
A new voice?
Is entering free?
Yes. And there'll be posters in every school also. So look for the posters. You see our logo up there. Just look for the posters. You can get all the information or much of the information off those posters and the postcards that we're giving you all also.
That's how committed the festival itself and the school board is to supporting this. There are no barriers. And if you feel like you have one, then reach out and ask for help. And we'll help break it down for you. Hello. As long as there's a...
Can you repeat the question?
We're asking if we find royalty-free music and then we create a music video, can we enter that? So it could be a moving arts film, or it could be a narrative film, depending on whether or not there's an actual story to it. Depends on what kind of movie you make. But the answer is yes. If you make a movie, enter that movie. And just ask again for some advice on which category might be most appropriate. Yes? Apps? Most of the Apple product come with iMovie, which can edit and shoot. You know, that's pretty easy one to get a hold of. I'm afraid I don't know the PC side of things, but they've got their own programs that are natural to their phones and their computers. So typically you won't even have to spend any money to get that kind of stuff. But there are a ton of apps on the app stores that you can use for editing, special effects, all kinds of stuff. It just comes down to how much time you've got to learn all those skills. But if you want to take on something like animation and you want to use a special app that helps blend the frames together a little more smoothly or smoothen out your sound, do it. There's a lot of tools out there. And again, ask for help if you need it. Sorry, Dorothy?
So every director has their own sort of creative style. So how did you find yours, and how do you recommend that we try and find ours?
Yeah, this is great. Writers have the same issue. When you start, I said don't make the same thing that somebody else has already made. But when you start your career, you're going to kind of emulate the movies that you like. That's a natural part of it. So kind of when I'm teaching writing, you're going to write movies that you like to watch. You're going to make movies that you like to watch. And eventually, through the process of making them over and over and over again, you're going to find little quirks and tweaks that are unique to you, and those will come out. But they're not going to be evident right away. Your early movies are going to seem kind of knockoffs of something else that's already out there, and that's not a big deal, because you're in school at that point, so don't let that worry you. Try to do your best to make the best film you can. Use your heroes, the directors you love, the actors that you love, as inspiration, and that will come. But it's going to take years to really develop the skills strong enough to have a strong voice like that. So be patient with yourself, too. It'll come with time.
So you were saying earlier, like, if you wanted to get lighting, you know, you can go, like, to your house and stuff. But what if I, like, well, more professional lighting, like highway flares? Where would I get that stuff?
Okay, no highway flares. Funny, but no. Use what you can get. Use what you got, or shoot outside where there's a lot of natural light.
There's also, you know, endless creativity that goes into making films. So if you have something special you want to do, there's a dozen different ways to get there, and just ask questions and figure it out.
I love it. Yes. Oh, when you submit and we choose the top five?
The question for the people at the back of the house?
So, when you submit, and if you get selected as one of the top five that will be shown at the festival, how do we get in touch with you? Well, you've registered on that special website, so we know how to get in touch with you, and we will tell you. There's no chance.
Everybody will be notified by the end of this school year if their film is going to be screened next school year. And to qualify, you can be have graduated prior to the actual screening of your film. So you can be in grade 12 now and be at university when we're screening your film. As long as when you submit your film, you are a registered student in a secondary school.
There's zero chance we will not get in touch with you.
I have a question about imagery and stuff. Is there a specific rating that we have to stop at for stuff we show? you know, like PG, and
Consider
R?
this general audiences, yes.
Okay.
I love that you're already pushing the boundaries, though. That's great. Maybe, depending. Sure.
How's the timing?
Yes. Sure. Sure. Why not? I love it. The trick is to just make a story that's nice and short that supports that kind of thing. You can't just have somebody wander into frame bleeding and having their head fall off or whatever, right? If you can build a good story around it and justify whatever it is that you've got on screen, do it. Again, pursue whatever interests you have. So if you love horror movies, make a horror movie. What do you think, Dorothy? The grade 8s, are they eligible to enter?
They will be eligible to enter next school year. So if they've got a great idea, it never hurts to take a little bit longer and develop that idea, but they can enter for next school year.
You've got a whole year to learn cool skills. You'll get your chance. Yes, sir.
You were saying that you are able to submit multiple times. So in the pitching category, can you basically submit multiple pitches of different ideas?
Sure. Yes is the answer. You can pitch multiple times as well in every category. Any combination, you can enter more than once.
Is a question down here?
Sorry, I get some glare. Oh.
Can you be accepted into multiple categories?
Yes. Yes, you can be accepted into multiple categories. Again, any combination. You could enter 100 times in every category. It's all good.
Got a question up here?
For the animation category, what are the actual animations going to be judged on? Like the quality of the film and how it looks, or the story and stuff like that?
A whole combination of stuff. It really comes down to the experience, right? That one that we watched up on the screen was not perfectly smooth. The animation was kind of crude. The music and the sound was kind of crude. But if you were able to see the whole thing, my apologies for not seeing the ending. It's an effective movie because it's got a nice laugh at the end of it. So tell a good story. And if there are technical amazements in there that you're really impressed with, like we would be impressed with, then that's going to count. But no one area is going to be determining what is the best film. It's about the whole experience.
And just so that I just want to fill in about the judges for all of the different categories. We've got some really interesting judges coming on. So the judges for the animation category are people who work in the animation industry. And all of the judges will be industry people at the final stage to judge those top 5. So to get to the top 5, it'll be screened by a committee from the TVDSB as well as beyond, from both boards actually in London, but also there'll be other screening committee members. So it's a good process to get through for the top 5 to trickle through.
We haven't talked about it yet, but film festivals like ours are a great way to connect with people who are already in the industry. And you might find opportunities that way too. So anybody that's interested in attending the festival should come. Check out the industry sessions because obviously there's screenings that take place right here in this room. But in an accompanying room, there's going to be what we call our industry sessions where we have seminars like this one, but very detailed ones by other professionals in the industry. We have panels where they talk about their work. That can be really, really insightful and enlightening. And they can hook you up with ideas that you wouldn't have known were out there, resources that you didn't know that were out there. At my very first film festival, I got a TV show optioned. It never hit the air, but it was super exciting to meet professionals, pitch them my idea, and then by the end of the festival, they wanted to talk contract and they wanted to talk about optioning an idea that I had for a TV show. Things can happen very quickly if you understand how the process works and if you're connected to people. So get involved.
And for everybody who doesn't get a film actually as an official selection to the evening screening, it's really good to just come to the film festival anyway. The Youth Film Festival is October 23rd. It's a Wednesday night. And whether or not, if you've submitted a film and you didn't make it to the final cut, don't worry about it. Come to the festival, check out what did make it, look analytically at your own project and your own ideas, and try again, because that's the joy. You've got 4 years that you can do this if you're starting out in grade 9. But even so, if you're going into college, there's also the main film festival, the Forest City Film Festival, which accepts and we screen films from a lot of films from university students that make the grade that can get up there. I've got a question up here.
For making a documentary, if you have someone who is really important in your subject or really wants to help and be on it, but they're very camera shy and doesn't want their face on camera, what's your opinion on interviewing and cutaways, such like that?
It's certainly a difficult challenge to do a documentary. The question is about, what if you want to do a documentary on a subject that's not comfortable with being on camera? If it's the one and only central figure, that's tough, because you can't really replace them. And I'm sure you've all seen examples of the silhouetted figure where you can't see their face. That's kind of creepy, and that doesn't work either, because you really are probably trying to get people to build a rapport with your subject. So it would be very tough with the time that you've got to get around that. You really do need them to kind of open up and get on camera. And there's a whole skill in getting people relaxed in front of the camera. A lot of people, even professionals that have worked in making TV and movies, when we put them in front of a camera, like directors and that kind of stuff, they can get weird, get really stiff and uncomfortable. So your job as the director is to talk with them a lot before you start rolling, while your cameras are getting set up maybe by another team member. You just engage them in a conversation and settle their nerves. Befriend them. Hopefully you get to know them and they trust you a little bit, and then they'll be willing to talk to you on camera. Some other documentarians do reenactments, but those are kind of tough because then you need actors to kind of pretend that they're those people, and then you're relying on a performance to kind of sell it. So every option has got its own obstacles, its own challenges, but try to win them over. Try to make them feel comfortable with you, and then get them in front of the camera.
And if I can just add to that too, everybody that you have in front of camera that's going to be screened to an audience, you need to be getting their written permission. So if you can't get somebody to be on camera, chances are you're going to have a struggle getting their written permission. And it's the same with the music. You need, somebody mentioned earlier, royalty-free music. I'm sure or music that's custom made for the piece, or permission from the musician.
There's documents that you can download online for free. Just look for like documentary release form. You can pull generic ones off the web easily and have them sign that.
We'll have some generic ones that will be on the website for everybody. I've got another question up here, and then I'm going to head down there.
Okay. So how would you appeal your full-length presentation in cinemas to the critics?
Say that again?
How would you appeal your movie to critics?
Well, some critics aren't going to like your work no matter what you do. I would not worry about what critics think. Make the movie that you want to make and put it in front of an audience. And if you can get a nice response to that film from the audience, what critics think is secondary. What was that? No, what's the follow-up? Bark it out? Yeah, the movie's either going to work or it's not going to work, right? So if critics actually point out things that you can use and learn from, great. But some people aren't going to like your work. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Do your best to make the most effective film that you can and get it out there and learn from that. Okay.
I actually have two questions, one I was going to ask earlier but forgot about. Would we be able to use just small clips from TV shows or movies for the film? Let's not the entire film be clips from other movies.
Yes, there's rules. So we'd have to have a longer conversation about that. So if you need help with that, again, ask, and maybe I can get in on it. My director partner is very good at the legalities of that.
It's called fair use.
fair use is the law that allows you. Yeah.
Get the rules.
But you can only do it for a certain length of time. Like your clips have got to be so short, and they've got to be used in such a way that's not selling something that you're making, but you can argue that I want this clip because I want to illustrate something that I want to talk about. So there's some legalities there, but we can sort it out or help you sort it out.
Also, is there like specific topics where we would not be allowed to use for our film idea at all? Like, an example could be like Nazi Germany. I don't know.
Nazi Germany that's not a scary subject. A lot of people have made documentaries on all aspects of that whole period in time.
I just mean like, would there be any specific topics that we would not be allowed to do a film of at all?
Well, within the ratings, right? So we talked about the rating system. So if the material that you want to put up on screen doesn't fall into a general audiences category, that's an issue. But the subject itself is pretty wide open.
Hello there. I'm wondering if students retain ownership once they submit, meaning if they make a music video or something, do they still own the rights to that video after they submitted it to you?
Yeah, I don't know the phrasing exactly, but Dorothy's very well versed on this. So when you make a movie, do you keep the ownership of it after you submit it to festivals? And Dorothy?
Yes, absolutely.
It's yours and
It's
yours.
just you've given the festival the right to screen it.
To show it temporarily.
Just sort of a follow-up. I know when I was in university, anything I submit or anything you submit becomes property of the prof. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, not the case here. I know that there's fine print that suggests that we can use it in advertising and stuff, but we'd never replay it for other audiences. It's just for the festival, and there may be a still shot of you at the festival that may be used for promotional materials, but that's about as far as it goes.
A clip might be put into the season preview. So you might get a snip that's put in the season preview, and you give permission for that kind of thing. The one thing that's important is that you cannot have the film on YouTube or publicly displayed prior to this screening. So you can put it on YouTube, but just keep it private. Just keep it so that you can only give people links, and that's the only way they can screen it. But if it's publicly viewed, it won't be an official selection.
Yeah, you'll get disqualified if you put your movie up on YouTube before the festival. After the festival's over, go nuts. Share it however you like. What was that?
What inspired you to like act and stuff?
To act and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I was a bit of a class clown. I was involved in all the theater projects in my high school. I liked building costumes. I liked becoming somebody different for a little while. I liked movies, so learning how to make movies was interesting to me. And after doing theater for about 10 years, this person helped cast me in my first movie. Dorothy did herself.
I was a casting director.
Yes, Dorothy was the casting director and helped a director who lived in Las Vegas find people around London, Ontario that could act and be on film. So that was my first opportunity. And from there, it moved very quickly because I became very good friends with the director. And now I make movies with him quite regularly. Yeah.
We got one more question down here.
What is your opinion on like?
Ooh, opinion question.
Yeah, like if you're trying to make a film, if you want to do something that you like, or would you rather do something that you think the audience might like?
Oh, I love this question. Somehow, as a filmmaker, you've got to balance both. Again, if you make a movie that's only for you, that means you're going to sell one ticket. That's bad business, right? So you have to make a movie that other people are going to enjoy as well. So a lot of it's about the process that's enjoyable for the filmmaker. And then, you do have a voice, you do have something you want to say about it, but you always have to keep in mind that it's got to be the kind of movie that can draw in big audiences. Because if it doesn't, then you're not going to find any success. It's as simple as that.
Another question here.
If you shoot a movie in public, do you have to blur out the people's faces if they get in?
Not if they're just walking by in the background. Not a big deal. If they have any part in telling the story, then you're going to need their permission, for sure. There's a lot to this rule, but generally speaking, if you just happen to catch somebody whizzing by in the background, like a car going by, you're not going to chase that person down and ask them for permission to put them in the movie, right? But if they're a part of the story, and they're there on purpose to help you tell the story, then you need their permission.
And that's, you almost started to say it. It's like that's part of the team. Making a film is a team effort. And a producer is a fantastic part of the team who, while the director is shooting, if it's a documentary, the director could be shooting a scene, somebody walks in, does something that's really interesting, the producer is chasing them down while the director continues to stay focused on the narrative of the film.
Yeah, it happens all the time in documentaries because you're there interviewing people. The first documentary I made was about video games and about the old Nintendo system. Woo! And we were in shops that sold old video game systems, and people were walking by in the background all the time, and we'd have to chase them down and like get permission from them. The more high profile your movie is, the bigger the movie is, the more people that see it, the more expensive it gets, the more sensitive that issue is. I worked on a movie and I had to Greek out brand names. This is a weird term that movies have got. So I had to go, we shot in a parking lot, and it had a business van for a lock and key company. And I had to secretly sneak up to the van and tape over it in the same color that the van is to make that logo go away, because we didn't have permission to put their logo in it. Or sometimes you have to block out the Ford on the front of the cars, that kind of stuff. It's not going to be an issue for you, but again, the more money behind it, the more sensitive you've got to be about making sure you've got permission to shoot where you shoot and whatever appears on screen, whomever appears on screen, all that stuff. It's a whole other part of filmmaking. Yes?
What advice do you give to younger students that want to become actors?
Get involved in every opportunity you can, all the school shows. Every time you can do public speaking like this, when you actually speak in front of a crowd, do it. You've got to get used to staring at 300 faces, for starters. And you need all the experience you can at actually pretending to be somebody else. So just do it as often as you can. If there's like comedy groups, like improv groups, that kind of stuff, that's great experience too. You're going to crash and burn a lot, but you're going to learn really quickly the more opportunities you actually do. I've done a little bit of improv, I've done tons of theater, I do a little bit in front of the camera, and every time you do something, you learn more and more and more quickly. So never turn down a gig. Do everything you can.